and he made those comments that they didn't prosecute any people federally, which we know is a lie. But let's just say we didn't know that it was a lie. And then you hear him talk about how the federal government, it's still illegal, how dangerous it is, how we're waiting for the DEA to come around, how people thought doctors were going to prescribe it. Let me stop you there, my friend.
Yeah.
Federal law, you should know, would say a physician who wants to maintain a DEA license would never be able to prescribe quote-unquote marijuana. They shouldn't even be involved in it. It's a First Amendment right, and just that to recommend it, nothing beyond that. So the total lack of knowledge, so the complaint that doctors are going to prescribe it is just a lie. It's a falsity. It's something he knows isn't true, and that's not something that should be said as a criticism of the act when it's not a legal possibility.
Isn't it a role of the Attorney General to, take what the people want in his state, and even if it's against the federal government, try to protect his people?
Even if it's true, he's saying essentially that people don't read the ballot, and that doesn't make any sense.
He's saying that
They got tricked. They really didn't want medical marijuana.
He's saying that if the federal government ever decided they were going to go into medical states and prosecute people, he's the first guy who's going to say, "Sure, Jeff Sessions, commandeer our troops."
Oh yeah, and here's the Laura database, just like Bill Schuette did.
Of course he will. He's a U.S. attorney.
He cannot
Former.
be the
Let me say one other
candidate
thing
for the Democrats.
Let me say, you know what should also bother people, even is he's got this suggestion that there is some confusion of federal and state law. This is our Attorney General. Let's be clear.
Who does that sound like, Chad?
There's no confusion between federal and state law. The state of Michigan wants the citizens to be protected by this law, and they don't want the federal government or the federal laws to be utilized in this capacity. That's a proclamation.
And by the
It's
way,
the same position as Schuette.
And specifically in the case of Turbeek versus Wyoming, our Supreme Court ruled that these two do not conflict, and they're not superseded. That it's
people should be going to the local Democratic clubs when he shows up and asking him how to differentiate his policy from Schuette's.
Alan, that doesn't solve the issue though, because even if they run next to each other concurrently, like the court said, it still gives the federal U.S. Attorney's Office the an invitation to prosecute. I'm not saying that they don't, and the law doesn't say that. I'm saying that Michigan voters recognize only 1 in 100 arrests for marijuana are federal, and by enacting this law, keeping in mind the well-being of the citizens, the health and well-being of the citizens of the state of Michigan, that
they wanted arrests to go down, and unfortunately, the reverse happened. Arrests went up. Although we can't blame it all on the voters because Lansing has modified the medical marijuana
I didn't get to talk about
a number of times since it passed in 2008.
One of the things that in the most recent amendment was a recognition of utter neglect, if not even intentional, and their failure to implement the Michigan medical marijuana as directed. So, and have it applied retroactively to try to save face. I wanted to talk to her, but I didn't get a chance to ask her as it was being described. It's a sensitive topic, I think, because there are, I maintain there's a lot of money action that plays into the whole reason why the policies are the way they are. It keeps people busy, of course, But one thing that is lacking is that there's no training for law enforcement. The idea that we're going to...
Oh, there's training for law enforcement.
But I say this, education about medical marijuana training. Not $1 has been put into it. Somewhere, someplace, it should be recognized that this is a shame. It really is. The idea that it's been going on for 9 years and we're going to call ourselves give the authority to the police and not one of them have ever interacted with or have any concept or understanding of, and to even be exposed to, from a like, this is the state police and we're going to expose our sworn officers to this education, that this plant is a medicine, and that not all of the plant is usable. and that plant needs to dry. And unless you see exorbitant amounts that would appear to be coming from more than the plants that they're allowed to have at any given time, you should really leave it alone because it's not usable, being dried. But none of that took place. Those simple little things would have stopped probably, I'd say, 70% of the cases we had.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? That's kind of sickening, isn't it?
Simple. Just common sense.
And I would even draw back to say, like, in whatever nuance and nonsense wants to be made over the idea of transferring marijuana, I would say, I don't know. Literally, it is so rare that, a case involving a delivery that's not card to card or intended card to card. Right, Chad? Like, there's literally no more.
Happened.
There's literally no
Hardly.
more illegal deliveries. I mean, there are deliveries within the registry, technical violations, but they're not.
None of it was never supposed to be. I mean, you guys, we've been around long enough. You guys remember when the farmers' markets were still getting opened?
Yep.
I mean, it was always supposed to be protected.
Cardholder to cardholder transactions.
Right. I think Michael is very passionate about this subject and is he's stood up in disgust. Because it's true. I mean, I remember very clearly, like, law enforcement just being okay with it because they knew that the intent was always that the transfer was to be protected by the act. And until they were told otherwise by the courts, that was just assumed to be lawful behavior.
They had to get it twisted by McQueen in the Court of Appeals first.
Yes, and it's so important that as we move into this new era, as our state continues to evolve when it comes to policy surrounding cannabis, that as we implement a recreational system, that we have an attorney general that is going to support the implementation as opposed to hinder it.
And Dana will support it, no doubt about it, and she'll change other policies within the Attorney General's office for the better. She will prosecute people that aren't currently being prosecuted, in my opinion. Should be.
I believe she will. She clearly is passionate about many different issues, and I think the thing I like the most about her is how approachable she is, and the fact that she knows that the government is there to serve the people and not to serve special interests and corporations and such. So it's an exciting time, but I think the biggest thing that, again, everyone needs to remember is to go online to www.dana2018.com, and you really need to do two things in order to make this a reality. The first thing you need to do, as Dana said, and as several members of the team said tonight, you have to register as a member of the Michigan Democratic Party. You do not have to be a Democrat. You can be a Republican. You can be a Libertarian. You can be whatever. You can be a unicorn. It doesn't matter. But register, because if you register, you can come to the convention in April at Cobo Hall, and that is when this
April 15th.
Bring your friends.
Get them to register too.
And literally, folks, we're talking a couple thousand people typically attend this convention. So if we can get a really solid turnout, there's a very, very good chance that she will be the candidate. But it's not going to happen without a huge turnout, so we have to make sure that we all step up, sign up for the Democratic Party, and get out there on April 15th. The second thing people need to do is donate to this woman's campaign. Without money, the engine doesn't go. And a few of us on the panel this evening have been fairly involved politically on some campaigns, and I can tell you that she is going to need a lot more money. And the more money that she can garner, the more solid she's going to look in April, and that also helps her chance of garnering the nomination. So even if it's just $5 or $10, send it her way, and do what you can. But definitely register Democratic Party. I know Michael and Chad are going to put a link on the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association at michiganmedicalmarijuana.org, so you can find it there as well.
She also needs some money for advertising, for things like billboard space and for
Jim.
TV to help with getting the nomination, getting elected. And she will not be spending a dime on robocalling. She's already been assured of that.
Oh.
So you don't have to worry about that. Make your donation, give them your information so they can thank you. And even if it's only $25,
So
we
we
very much appreciated.
I heard we have a request for the call-in number. The call-in number is 224-803-3098. But call in quick because Chad is looking mighty sleepy.
Jim.
Yes.
Been trying. I've been very patient. Alan keeps going. And
Alan. What?
anyways, somebody wants to know what the call number is. It's almost at the end of the show, but
I just said it on the air.
have them call in.
Wait,
Find
can you
out who
say
is.
it again?
It's 224.
Yeah.
You guys got this?
Jim, I tuned you guys out when you were
224 803 3098.
You're going to listen to my voice so long, and that's about it.
So
Was I talking too much, Michael?
maybe.
I don't know. I love you on here. Come on.
So
I love you too, Michael.
Even though you usurped my MMFLA update
Yeah.
section.
well, we talked a little
that,
bit.
that was only one of the 19. I talked about Rule 19. There's a lot of other stuff. in there.
You can do a new rule every week.
No, but
New rule.
20 is a good one.
these are the emergency rules.
They're emergency rules.
Emergency.
21
Emergency.
pages.
I was glad to see
Everybody
that the state was
get
once
from
again so
street.
timely in the delivery of the rules.
I wouldn't trust the state to protect patients and caregivers who transfer to these licensees.
Oh.
You can't trust the state.
That's the most interesting rule. to
'Cause
me
you know
at this
who
point.
runs the
It's
state.
Rule number 20,
Yeah.
which allows for a transition
Shooty.
period
They're gonna
by which license holders who have marijuana product can now input it into the system, regardless of
Stick it in.
source.
Yeah, and it's also the capitalization thing they also have there in the emergency rules that a person can use their existing inventory to as towards their capitalization,
I did find that very interesting.
as long as they're within the
People-
limits of the
I heard
the
quotes that they were,
of the current Medical Marijuana Act, which means they could have a Michigan
I heard
pound,
somebody
15
quote
ounces
saying
plus.
that they're going to let, or like that they were
Well,
suggesting
Brian,
$2,000
so
for a
don't-
plant, which means that if you had 72 plants, you're basically covering your entire capital requirement for a 500 plant grow.
Except that you're only allowed to have off that 15 ounces usable right now. Under the
Oh,
Yeah.
But
Alan.
that's assuming that it's all harvested at the same time. As long as it's a plant, it's just a plant.
Are we calling it?
you can have it's like
I think
an
we're
amount of
calling it.
oil for those 15 ounces in equivalent. So just pure oil weight would be enough.
Chad, we're calling it.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yep.
Hey lady, you got the love I need. Maybe more than enough. Oh, darling, 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 walk a while with me. Oh, you got so much, and I really need so much. I have to have